More on this, Hossam Abouzahr joins us from Washington. He's the Associate Director at the Rafik Hariri Center for the Middle East. Hello there, thanks for joining us. Now, how difficult is this going to be for the rebels?
Well, it looks like it's going to be very difficult right now. The rebels have launched attacks on multiple fronts inside of Aleppo. They're attacking in the southeast, the Naidab air base, which is controlled by the regime. They're also attacking some suburbs in the southwest of Aleppo that are controlled by the regime, and some other areas along the western front of Aleppo. But they've never really been able to hold the ground. Even when they broke the siege back in July, the regime with its backers, the Russian and Iranians and others, were quickly able to reassert the siege on the city. Right now, it seems that their tactic is to spread out as much as they can to diminish the impact of regime airstrikes on them, and to try to get into the city as much as they can to complicate any kind of attack against them in the future.
What does this say, though, about Russia's role? I mean, Putin has decided to delay airstrikes in Aleppo for now, at least, and the offensive is restarting. So what can we read into it?
Well, Russia, for one thing, it's notable that Russia has actually advertised the fact that this discussion is going on between President Putin and the Ministry of Defense. This isn't something normally that would necessarily be talked about, but he's obviously sending a message with this to the international community and probably to the Syrian regime itself, to say, you know, it's our choice whether or not to act right now. In the past, a lot of people have noted that the Syrian regime has been sort of dragging the Russians into things, sometimes against the Russians' will, and that the Russians, even as they're agreeing to ceasefires in the international arena, they're not able to actually get the regime to follow them on the ground. So this might be a way for Vladimir Putin to send a message to the Syrian regime and to the international community that, you know, it's not following everything that the regime says, and that there is perhaps room for negotiations.
Now, Saudi Arabia has talked about sending more weapons to the rebels. So what's their role in this offensive? Saudi
Arabia has always been a huge backer of the rebels and has been sending weapons to them regularly. Increasing that, the rebels can always use more weapons against the regime. They really need that right now. What would really be a game changer is if Saudi were able to get to them some kind of anti-aircraft weaponry, man-pads and things like that. Because the biggest thing for the rebels is that they've been able to advance here and there at times, but then they're always driven back out by air power, which they have no real defense against.
Well, Hossam Abouzahr in Washington, thank you.